Welcome
Hello.
back.
Welcome.
Hello.
So what's it like in
Welcome to you
Berlin?
too. It's rainy and
Oh,
yeah, kind of overcast. So it's yeah, how are things in Sydney?
it's beautiful. We're heading towards summer. We've actually got no rain today, which is unusual lately. So yeah.
Excellent. So envy you your weather. Um, although compared to Toronto, I kind of like winter in Berlin. So, there you go. This is our second video, and we
Indeed.
had decided that we were going to tell people a bit about ourselves and our journeys to creativity. So that's what we're here for today.
Cool. Well, I might take the lead and kick off and do a little bit about discovering a little bit more about Stephanie. I'm actually going to start with a recent event. I was told that you presented at Creative Mornings in Berlin on the topic of honesty, and I heard it was a great success. So I thought you might want to talk a little bit about how this came about.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that was a great experience. I was crazy nervous, I will say. If you have watched the video, you know that I was crazy nervous. That would never stop me from doing anything. Being, take a deep breath and go and do it anyway. So yeah, I discovered Creative Mornings Berlin a couple of months ago, and they were looking for volunteers for October, and the little voice in my head said, "Oh, we could do that," because it talks to me in the third person sometimes. So I volunteered, and yeah, went crazy. I haven't prepared so much for a presentation in my life. Well, at least not for a very long time. And yeah, it went really well. I was nervous because it was the first time I was talking about honesty and creativity like that. And yeah, in front of a new audience. And yeah, so I was crazy nervous, but it was, yeah, really a really good experience. So I hope everybody will go watching the video now.
So what was some of the kind of just big highlights that you talked about in the honesty speech?
Oh, yeah. It kind of picks up on some of the things we talked about in our first video about how our creativity is educated out of us. And certainly that was my experience. So, and this is part of why I was so crazy nervous, was because it was really quite personal. I was talking about my experience of being, educated, and educated is a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but I spend a lot of time doing all the process and all the analytical and all the logic stuff, and I have an undergrad in accounting and an MBA in IT, and very process. So and I didn't develop really the creativity side until after I finished the MBA. And it's like, oh, I have all this free time on my hands. What am I going to do now? So I started, to play a bit. And I tried drawing, I tried photography, I tried rock climbing, I tried mountain biking, I tried jewelry making, I tried a bunch of different things. And some of it stuck, like the painting, and some of it didn't, like the mountain biking and the rock climbing, which I hated. Um, so yeah, and so the tie into honesty is just how good it felt to be my whole self, to be honest about the things that I like and I didn't like. And and the accounting and the IT stuff is good. I'm good at that stuff. There's logic in my brain there, but it's also so much fun to be engaged on the other side and do the creative stuff and do the painting and things too. So, and bring my whole self to things. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's good.
One of the really special things about your speech was the very end. Can you tell me a little bit about, for those who haven't actually viewed the video, what you actually did to bring the house down at the end? You did.
Well, I was hoping for a standing ovation for that one, but I didn't quite get it. So, I thought well, maybe it was too early in the morning. The presentation was at 8:30, but yeah. So I talk about hiding behind a mask, and I actually had a paper mache mask that I had written all different roles and different masks that I had worn, and so at the end, I put the mask on the floor, throw the mask on the floor, and jump up and down on it. It was quite cathartic, I have to say. And I still have the mask somewhere. I don't know, it's behind my desk, but yeah, it was good fun. So, and people definitely connected with that,
Yeah, I
which
can
was good.
imagine. Yeah, it's quite
Yeah.
it was quite a brave thing to do. You know, I mean, on some levels it seems quite simple. Oh, you just, but yeah, I thought it was a really beautiful embodiment of vulnerability that comes with honesty, because let's face it, if honesty was easy, we wouldn't all be liars.
That's right.
But what I thought was really special was the fact that you were really talking about honesty with yourself.
Yes, yes, yes. And that's really how the presentation started off, with me, saying, are you honest all the time? And then, the next step was, I bet there's not. I bet there's someone that you lie to, fairly regularly. And actually one person in the audience did yell it out. I don't know if you can pick that up in the video or not, but someone did yell it out when I said, do you know who that is? So, which was good, because I wanted people to get it. So yeah, it was good. I think I'm still coming down. It was a week ago, since I've done that. I think I'm still coming down off of the high from that. So it's been fun. It's been a good week since that. So
Well done.
yeah.
So
Thank you.
you are, and I think you describe yourself quite nicely as someone who's actually got the left brain and the right brain. And we know the brain doesn't work like that, but metaphorically, it's really good to talk about the fact that you've got
Yes.
this kind of analytical, accounting, MBA, knowledge management side. But recently, fairly recently, you've actually taken a career direction in the sense that you're actually now an artist, and you say you're an artist. You're not just quietly painting in the background, not that there's anything wrong with that, but you actually are an exhibiting artist. And you're actually building up your practice in Berlin to be about creative facilitation and helping awaken the other artists and people, whether it be painting, drawing, or just actually walking in the woods. So tell me a little bit about how you kind of became your whole self.
That was definitely a process. And I'm not sure we have time in the video for that whole story. It was definitely, it's something that evolved. I have been bringing some creativity and things into my knowledge management work for the last 6 years, but I've been doing knowledge management for 19 years. So, and then, accounting and finance before that. But yeah, this summer I kind of got to the point where I thought, I'm tired of wearing all these different hats. I have a lot of different hats that I wear. And I thought, it feels like it's time to fully move on from the knowledge management and focus on the creativity and innovation. That's certainly what brings me joy, is talking to people about that. It's on an individual basis or on an organizational basis. And so, yeah, I made the decision this summer to, leave that behind and fully embrace my own creativity, and then, I'll work with people to embrace their own. And it's a lot. It's not been easy, but wouldn't trade it for the world.
Very well said. So if you could give any advice to someone who's actually watching this and thinking, I would love to actually be doing that, what would be your wise advice with the wisdom of hindsight?
Don't be afraid to play and experiment and just try things out. Like I tried out the rock climbing. I always thought that would be fun. It looked fun. I liked the outdoors. I liked to play. I hated rock climbing. I know, once was enough. So
what did you hate so much about it? What was it? Was it the height? Was it just?
It was you're face to face with the rock the whole time. I like to look around. This is why I don't ride a bike in Berlin, because I like to look around at stuff. I like to walk. So I take the tram or I take the subway, or U-Bahn, or and because I like to look around. So being face to face with the rock, I can't look around. You can look around at the top, at the bottom, maybe take a break and kind of look over your shoulder. But yeah, it was kind of like golf in that. I tried golf too.
Yes. I actually like golf, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I'd rather just walk. What's hitting the white ball thing? So yeah.
Fair enough. So anyway, we digress, but I think go on.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing, is don't be afraid to try. Grab a friend, drag somebody with you, do it on your own if you're afraid that you're going to embarrass yourself in front of, and people are, it's you that's embarrassed. Nobody is embarrassed. Nobody else is embarrassed, you know? So you need to let go of that fear of embarrassment, because the people are just impressed that you try, you know?
Yeah.
At least that's what I've found. So I
Is
know.
that some similarities to what you find now that you're, as a Canadian, actually living full time in Berlin? Is that some of the learnings you also find when it comes to speaking German?
Yeah, I haven't quite got over that. Speaking German. I try. But yeah, it is, you know, and people tell me that I need to let go of that and just not be afraid to make mistakes. And this is when the, you know, the speaking German stuff, definitely the perfectionism definitely comes out. Although I am better now, 2 years into learning German, than I was, you know, when I started. So it's a journey too.
Fair enough. Do you dream in German?
I've dreamt a couple of times in
Oh.
German, but I don't understand it.
Sorry. That's great. Well, dreams are mostly unable to be understood anyway, so what the heck?
Yeah.
Just go with it.
So is that a language I don't actually speak. Yeah, that was, yeah, people laugh when I said, yeah, I dreamt in German, but I have no idea what I was saying.
You know, it's funny though. It may be that your unconscious language skills are further developed than your conscious language skills.
Yeah, I suspect there's some truth in that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah. So that's a bit about my journey.
Well,
Should we, I'm just,
before we close off, I want one last question I wanted to ask you is,
sure.
how the heck did you end up in Berlin?
Oh,
Yeah, I think people might want to
I
know.
I have dual citizenship. So my mother was born in the UK, and so I decided it was time for change
Yeah.
after, you know, spending a lifetime in Toronto or in Canada. I decided it was time for a change, and checked out some different cities, but Berlin captured my heart, and I get homesick when I leave Berlin now. It's crazy, you know, and because I haven't been back to Canada since I left, honestly, and have really no offense to anyone in Canada or anything like that. I have no interest in going back, you know. I'm not homesick for it at all. But if I'm gone from Berlin for a couple of days, it's like, okay, I need to go home, you know. And it's like touching home, like when you were playing tag when you were a kid, or hide and go seek when you were a kid, and you know, you touched home, you know. And that's how Berlin feels to me. It feels like home in a way that I never felt in Canada, despite being born and raised there. So yeah. So Berlin kind of chose me in a way.
Very
So
cool. What is it about it that makes you feel at home, if you could put your finger on it? And you may not be able to.
um there's just an energy here, a vibe, you know. Everybody is so different, and nobody cares. There's no judgment. There's no, everybody's very accepting and tolerant, and you know, and it just is a different vibe, a different energy to that. So yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine it's great for creativity, especially for someone who's
Oh
testing the waters and developing themselves as an artist.
yes. Oh yeah, there's so much going on here, you know, and so it's interesting to see what other people are doing, and get ideas from that, you know, and then that informs my practice. And then, you know, and I think people look at my stuff and go, oh, that's cool, I haven't seen that anywhere else, you know. That's, how did you get the idea? So hopefully I'm influencing somehow their practice as well. You know, I had someone recently say to me, oh, can I be a consultant and a painter? I'm like, well, of course you can. Why can't you do that? You know, I'm doing it. So yeah, but you get these ideas in your head, you know, that,
True.
oh, you know, I've got an undergrad in accounting, I gotta be an accountant for the rest of my life. No, you don't. You know, the undergrad in accounting was useful, and I do my own bookkeeping and, you know, that kind of stuff, but I don't need to be an accountant for the rest of my life just because I made that decision, you know, however many years ago I made that decision. So and this is the thing, it's all been an evolution. It made sense, you know, kind of go, well, how did she go from being an accountant to a painter? The line isn't necessarily obvious, and maybe it's not, but when I tell the whole story, it's like, oh yeah, it does make sense, because everything's a one step at a time. I'm going to take one step, and you make a decision and go this way instead of that way, or that way instead of this way, and it all leads someplace, and you see the path and the pattern over time, not one step at a time, which is why I keep trying to still learn German, even though I'm crazy busy, because I know it's one step at a time, and if I stop, then I'm not gonna get there.
But I think you've made a really good point, because I think we think that choices like being an artist or actually pursuing a creative career are like, and then you like go off and you pursue your dream, when the reality is it comes by increments and taking choices and making decisions and going, oh, I'm not happy. What other paths are there? Yeah, it doesn't all happen in one big gigantic flash.
No. And a lot of people say to me, oh, was I artistic as a kid? No, I wasn't. We did paint by numbers as a kid, like, and I like the paint by numbers, but I don't know that I consider that particularly artistic. It's like coloring in a coloring book. In fact, less so, because they're telling you what color to paint in what spot. But that was my art practice as a kid. Oh, and we made plaster casts of Thumper the rabbit that we painted. That's it.
Thumper. That takes me back.
Yeah. So yeah, the painting, when I first painted in 2011, it was like, oh, I got to do more of this, and I had never had that experience before. I'm sure we had painted when I was in primary school, with watercolors and tempera paint and things, but never like my experience in this workshop that I was in 2011, which was actually a leadership workshop.
Right.
It's like, oh, I get it. I went and bought paints.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, next time, we made a strategic decision for our audience to actually have a white canvas for both of us. But next time, I'm kind of regretting that we didn't have some pictures of what your work behind you, because I think it's really important to actually have a look. So next time, for the audience, we're actually going to have a look at Stephanie's work, because it's very unusual and it's very interactive. Yeah, and talk a little bit more about the process and the pieces.
Yes, and I'll put a link to my website anyway in the description of the video when we post it. So yeah,
cool.
Good.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.